Hi everyone, this is Julia from Made by the Chef, and today I'm going to make you Cypriot style olive and halloumi bread. In my bowl I have got 750 grams of flour. Don't need to use that much, you can always halve the quantity. What I've done is I've mixed together self-raising flour and wholemeal flour. When you're making bread, there's no hard and fast rule. Yes, you know, we've bung a bit of yeast in. Not all breads do take yeast. So you've got your sourdoughs, you've got your soda breads. But in this bread, actually, I've got a little bit of self-raising, so, you know, plain flour, baking powder, and I'm going to use some yeast. So I'm using fast action dried yeast, and I'm going to put that inside the bowl. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there, about a tablespoon. I'm going to be using halloumi cheese, so you don't need loads of salt, and it really depends on the olives you're putting in as well. Now, I'm going to put some dried mint in there because halloumi has mint. Whenever it's made in the village, it's always made wrapped with mint leaves. It's just a very traditional cheese of Cyprus and very traditional cheese to make with mint. So I'm now adding the mint, and I'm going to now add my halloumi. So I'm putting about 2 halloumis in here, which you can buy from any shop. Even Lidl sells them, and I actually did buy mine from Lidl this time. So you can get them from any sort of delis, Turkish delis, Greek delis, but you can also get it in Lidl, Tesco, Sainsbury's. All of the supermarkets will do it for you. So I'm going to put my halloumi in there, and I'm Cypriot Turkish, so we actually call it hellim. So this is a hellim or halloumi and olive bread. Now I'm using basic olives, just pitted out of a jar. But if you're using those really lovely Turkish olives, those gnarly wrinkled olives and the salt and the oil, then again, you don't need a lot of salt because they've already got loads of flavour in them. Now I'm shooting this in my kitchen, and you might hear the neighbours' kids in the garden outside. It is a lovely day, very sunny. Stay at home, please. I know we're going through a really interesting time at the moment, and the weather is lovely this weekend, so you are tempted to go out, but don't. Stay at home, please. Maybe you can take out your 1 hour of exercise, but if you can, please stay at home. You should stay at home. We will get through this. It's only temporary and it will pass. Now, I've mixed in my olives, I've mixed in my cheese. It's all in there. Look at that, lovely. And actually, you know, this bread, obviously it's a Cypriot, traditional Cypriot bread. If you don't have halloumi, you can use other cheeses as well. It's no big deal. Now, I've put all the ingredients in. Of course, it's got to have olive oil. Don't skimp. Use the good stuff. Extra virgin olive oil works beautifully in this. It gives it a real lovely rich and depth of flavour. In Cyprus, our oil is quite dark. It's got this bitterness to it, this sort of bitter aftertaste. I love it. It works beautifully in salads, and it really works well in this bread. So I'm going to put my olive oil in there. I've got about 75 mils. That's going in. And then I'm going to mix that up again. And what's left is to add my water. Now, the reason I'm using self-raising and wholemeal flour, you can use strong flour, but you know, in Cyprus, they generally tend to use one type of flour for everything. One type of flour for cakes, for breads, or whatever it is they're making. One flour. Sauces, it's an all-purpose flour, and then they'll either add baking powder to it, they'll add yeast to it, whatever it is. So I've done a mixture of the two, because actually I wanted that little bit of baking powder as well as the yeast in the bread. Now I'm going to start mixing this. Now this is not your traditional kind of bread where you make a dough, let it prove, knock it back, let it prove again, and then bake it off. No, this is actually one proving. It's quite an interesting dough, because what you're not looking to do is actually form it into a typical bread style dough. It's a little bit sloppy, actually. It's a little bit sloppy, so it's kind of a bit like a batter, but a thick one, and sort of gives the bread this kind of cakiness to it, which I love. So I'm now mixing it, and I'm just mixing it in the bowl, so I just want you to have a look at that. You can see, so it's still got this slight wetness to it, this slight moisture to it, and I'm just going to keep mixing that for about 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes later, I have finally mixed it all together. Now, what I'm going to do, let me just move that aside. Look at that, all nice and they're all lovely. Look at that. So it's not a typical dough, so you don't need to put all that effort into trying to bring it all together to a dough. It's kind of still got this beautiful elasticness to it though. Can you see that? Look at that. Oh, that is beautiful. Now, I have got what we call a cine or tepsi. Aluminium, very simple tray, and you get these anywhere really, especially if you're in London, you can pick them up. I'm actually in Kent, so you know, I would just say if you have, just use any tray, any old tray will do really, as long as it's deep. And then you want to make sure that you oil it up, so you want to make sure that you've got lots of olive oil in there, yes, and whatever's left in your cup, and just make sure you put some olive oil in there. You want to swirl it all around, nice oily greasy pan, okay, because this is olive bread essentially. Now I'm going to lift it all up and I'm going to put it all in the pan, and then I'm going to spread it around. So let's just do that quickly. Get everything out of your bowl. There we go. And I'm going to leave this, and once I've spreaded it around, I'm actually going to leave it in the pan. I'm going to cover it with cling film or a cloth. You can do a damp cloth or a bit of cling film. Obviously, like I said, in Cyprus, it's so boiling hot that it would prove for about 5 minutes. Of course, we're in the UK, so it's going to need a little bit longer. But what you're going to see is it's going to rise up and become quite springy. That's it. Ooh. Right, it's in the pan now, and we're going to leave that to prove, and then we're going to bake it. Right, here it is. So it's been about an hour. I've let it prove, let it rise up. Let's take that. It's all nice and warm. So I left mine out in the sun. So it's beautiful sunshine outside, sun's shining on it, and there it is. Look, it's risen up. So it looks really good now, kind of cakey, really nice. I'm going to put that in the oven, probably for about 40 minutes on 200 to 220. You want it nice and high, so it's nice and crusty and brown on top. Right, here it is, out of the oven. Lovely and hot and crispy. Look at that, there's the top. Really love making this bread, and I'll tell you why, because it just gives me that little taste of nostalgia. It makes me think of my mum growing up in East London and those days spent going to Cyprus and that hot sun. Oh, it was amazing. And you know, that's what you should do. Cook something that makes you feel a bit nostalgic, right? Look. So I've got my halloumi zeytin ekmek, as we like to call it, halloumi olive bread, and I'm going to cut into it. That's what my mum always used to do. So what she'd do is she'd get just any old knife and she'd scrape it around the edges like that, just to separate it from the edge of the tin. Just give it a nice old sort of going round, and then she'd just cut into it to give us all a bit of a slice. And now she'd like to cut it into sort of straight lines, so it's sort of like squares. And so that's what I'm going to do. And there we go. I'll give that a cut, and we've been waiting eagerly by her side, waiting for that bread to come out so we could eat it nice and hot straight out of the tin. There we go. Right, look at that. Oh, now you might find that sometimes it sticks to the bottom. That's all right, it doesn't matter. There we go. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful, right? Really nice and soft. Let me show you. Get up close. Oh, the halloumi. And if you wanted, you could put a bit of onions in there as well. I didn't bother this time, so I've just got halloumi, zeytin, olives, olive oil, mint, a little bit of salt. Okay. Oh, that's lovely and soft. It's soft, a little bit gooey still, but perfect. Good to leave it to cool down a little bit, if there's any left. And yeah, enjoy. A little bit of nostalgia. My Cypriot roots, very proud of that. Have a wicked day. Stay at home.